halben Tag weiter diskutieren oder noch mehr. Wir freuen uns, dass wir jetzt zum Schluss des heutigen Tages einen Beitrag haben, noch im Rahmen der internationalen Zusammenarbeit. Marinos Ioannides ist UNESCO und ERA Chair for Digital Cultural Heritage, ist also so in dieser ganzen Thematik drin, mit der wir uns auch beschäftigen. Da es eine Veranstaltung ist im Rahmen der Ratspräsidentschaft, wird Marinos in Englisch sprechen, wie es im Programm steht, How a Pandemic Bumped Up Digital Cultural Heritage in Society. Aber Marinos Ioannides spricht sehr gut Deutsch, er hat nämlich in Deutschland studiert. Und sollten Sie Fragen haben oder sowas, ist das problemlos in Deutsch zu machen. Marinos kann eben in Deutsch auch antworten. Dann würde ich jetzt das Wort an Marinos Ioannides übergeben.
Good evening, Berlin. My name is Marinos Ioannides, and I am representing the UNESCO Chair and the ERA Chair on Cultural Heritage. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It is an honor to be with you together. And Grüß Gott from Nicosia, which is the last divided city in Europe. You have it behind you, we have it in front of us. And of course, congratulations for your project and the excellent conference. I was in the position today to follow up despite the heavy loading of work which we had here locally. Next slide, please. We do more or less this what you do. We are trying to digitize, but also at the same time to preserve the memory of our parents. Why? Because not only to protect and preserve, but also because of in front of us are the eyes of our children. The next one, please. I would like to go and give you a very short definition of what the museum is from our side. This starts with our name, Mnemosini, 2,500 years ago, which was the mother of 9 ladies. The ladies who were in charge to protect, to preserve the memory of the ancient Greeks, the muses. These ladies and the mother had a temple, and the name of the temple was museum. And what was the function of that museum? That was the place when the ancient Greeks went to preserve their memory, to preserve their story for the future. The next one, please. And that's, okay, it's a PDF. It has been transferred to a PDF. It's not anymore a PowerPoint presentation, but nevertheless, I started with 2,500 years ago, now 31 years ago. You know what happened in Berlin. Berlin was Wieder Berlin again, but then on that time, before the wall was gone on that night, it was a conference in Berlin, and that was all about advanced geometric modeling for engineering applications. That was the era when ICT went or started working for the automation in mechanical engineering. 31 years ago, that has been discussed there. And this, or a part of that, it is already included in your project, in the Museum 4.0. So the advanced modeling of objects of knowledge, it is now in the area of humanities and social sciences. Next, please. In 2014, 6 years ago, the title of a conference in Dresden was Access and Understanding Networking in the Digital Era. That was the ICOM Digital-Koferenz organized from Monica in Dresden. That was the beginning, I will say, of the German collaboration in the area of digital cultural heritage. Next slide, please. And then if we go and see from our point of view, from, let's say, what is actually a museum object, we will see an example here, which is located at the National Archaeological Museum of Athens in Greece. It is one of the most important objects in that museum, and it represents the oldest analog computer of the world. It's more than 2,000 years old object. But if you see on the left-hand side what or how the object looks like, and then if you see on this side, and now I want to link to the previous one slide which I showed to you about the conference on that day when Berlin was Berlin again. Advanced geometrical modeling in engineering, in mechanical engineering. And look now this, which is used today in the area of humanities and social sciences. So the use of high tech in the area of museums to recover, and I would like to highlight this word, knowledge, which is hidden here in this object, and not only hidden, it is in such a language, not only hidden, but encoded in such a way that with this, what we see here on the right-hand side, it is a genius engineering of a high class. Or when engineers today see, they are saying it is impossible that something like that was existed on that time, but it is a reality. Next slide, please. It was an animation, okay, it was lost because of the transfer of the PPT to PDF, but it doesn't matter. We can see it later if there is a discussion. Next one, please. So this object actually, since 2,000 years, or on that time it was lost. It has been discovered 100 years ago, and it's since then in the museum in Athens. This object has a special language. It's trying actually to talk. It's trying to communicate. I'm using now some of the words that colleagues used today during the presentation, but even during the last session. They are trying to communicate with us, with the visitors, with those going to see the objects. But we are not in the position to understand, to get these audio signals in the appropriate frequency and wavelength so that we can understand the story, the memory, the identity, which is encoded in that object. Identity also so far as knowledge, so far as genius engineering concern, and genius mathematics, And I would like here in brackets to mention that there in this mathematics you will find 2,000 years ago the Kepler laws, the astronomer, the German astronomer, the Copernican laws. No, these two people, they didn't plagiarize. They didn't copy paste from the ancient Greeks. No, they had to rediscover all this whatever they discovered. And now it's how can the digital era, the ICT, this high tech of the 21st century, make it possible for us to understand, to access, to preserve, to protect the history of mankind in a time period my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, when worldwide we don't have standards. There are only two standards. This is the CTOC CRM and the object ID and nothing more. And that's a pity because each one is trying to document, to digitize. Each one is trying to recover the knowledge or reconstruct, to reverse engineer this, what it was on that time. But at the end of the day, so far as long-term preservation concern and protection of that knowledge over the time, all of us, we fail because of the revolution of the ICT and whatever is changing every day in our domain. Next slide, please. Yeah, it is a place of knowledge, of story, of memory and identity, and it is also a place to preserve and protect. And this is now what we are going to do with the digital museums. We want to create a place, digital places for knowledge, for story, for memory, identity, and of course to protect and preserve. Yes, next slide, please. And then the pandemic arrived. That was the most significant global disaster of the century. And one of the most significant challenges the humanity has faced since the Second World War. Actually, it is the Third World War, because all the world is fighting now against this invisible enemy. Next slide, please. And then suddenly the news told again about the museums, about these spaces of knowledge and of memory. They closed, and that was in the news. It was a momentum for all of us. Yes, next please. And the UNESCO report came out 2 months, 3 months later, saying that out of the 182 states, that's the members of UNESCO, 156 closed their museums, business closed. 90% of the museums, so more or less 85,000 institutions, closed their doors forever. So which means what? The analog world shut down. It was over. But at the same time, please, next slide. If we see what it means, what it's the impact to close museums, to close all these institutions, you see here, for example, the staff, what is happening with the staff, reduction of programs, loss of public funding, loss of private funding, sponsoring, and during the time when the museums are closing and so on. And you see here that the three different variations from a nice graphical presentation from ICOM. Next slide, please. And then here from NEMO, one of the latest results, where you see the increase in, of course, relation to the start, but also at this, the relation to as it was before and now, and considering to start when online service activity, increased. So we are moving now from the stage of the analog to the digital. Next slide, please. And you see what is happening around Europe, at least the European map here, coming out from Digital Museums, an initiative in Austria during the coronavirus pandemic. So we see the analog world of the museums is closing, shutting down, but the analog is going up. Next, please. And I don't want to repeat this, what it states here in this report, but this is actually the report where someone can make a reference. It is unbelievable that during the 6 months from March until, let's say, September or October, we see here a 38% worldwide increase at least so far as interest, on virtual museums, on virtual libraries, and on virtual archives. I'm not talking now about the e-commerce or about e-business and so on. That's only our area. Next slide, please. Yes, and if we see now this COVID-19 tsunami, I gave the name tsunami, this definition. We have on the one side the analog institutions, the cultural heritage institutions, museums are closing. And at the same time, the society moved to digital, and the media press was totally surprised. We saw, and I would like to invite you to see the Euronews report. On the other side, the digital heritage is facing a growth at the moment. And it is the fact that within the last 6 months, and because the year now is coming to the end, they are preparing for the 2021 budget proposals. And the technology is in, the ICT is in, human resources, so far as education, vocational training, new skills concerned. But then on the other side, we see an increase on the policy making, where the European Commission went out and did a worldwide survey and they received a surprise response from around the world, 600, 700 responses, which is a high number. And then on the national level, all the different studies which went through, we saw here on a pan-European level, the NEMO, but also the ICOM, then the UNESCO worldwide, and so on. Next slide, please. So, and if we take now the messages of at least from the time when I was able to follow up your conference, it was clear, digital transformation is the hit. The Corona-19 is a driver in digital heritage. And in this digital era, we are trying what? To understand the world, but also on the other side, we have the landscape over the time, or the knowledge over the time. And then the use and reuse of this knowledge using modern multimedia methods and communication tools and so on, XR presentations we have. But then we have here an obstacle, which is the sustainability of all these technologies and of all these applications that you develop now, even during the Museum 4.0. And what we would like to achieve actually with this, what it has been developed with or without the coronavirus up to now. Yes, next slide, please. And it's clear, and this is also a message coming from NEMO, but I'm sure that you are going to have a NEMO presentation, even if you didn't have today, to promote open access to cultural heritage and use digital online tools to support digitization and enhancing digital skills, to educate, vocational training, for example, in your area, and then invest on what makes museum unique and their collection and rich content. And here is where we, as the UNESCO chair, and as well as the European research area, coming and saying, if a museum is a place of knowledge, if it's a museum, it's a place of memory, of a story and of identity. And then this is the challenge that we have in front of us with all the technology available. Then we need to invest to get this knowledge out of these analog spaces, closed analog spaces, and bring it to all the individuals, to all the professionals, from A like an architect or archaeologist, B like biologist, C like civil engineer or a chemical engineer, up to Z, to the last letter in the alphabet. All the professionals have to profit out of that. But to do that, it is a matter of managing knowledge and managing memory, which is now at the beginning, when we don't have standards in place, the greatest challenges that the sector of humanities and social sciences are undergoing. Together, of course, with the multidisciplinary rest of other areas like ICT, informatics, or cultural informatics, or even electrical engineering, civil engineering, architecture, and so on and so on. Next slide, please. And a project was came to an end last year, was coordinated from us. SPK was a partner. And the message that we send out is, and that was last year, not now, but this is what we proposed on that time as an action plan for digital cultural heritage here, was harnessing key technologies for exploitation of the digital cultural heritage, deploying technologies to engage wider audiences for digital cultural heritage. And please, if I go here through all these 10 points, you will see this is actually what you presented today. And it is this what you are actually highlighting through your project. On the other side, by the sustainable infrastructure for digital transformation of cultural heritage, you have the guarantee, or we have the guarantee, that at least a part of this recovered knowledge, if not all of that, in the digital era can be preserved for a longer time period. And now the time arrived, ladies and gentlemen, where we are talking about holistic documentation, the 3D digitization, the 2D digitization. It is a state of the art of the last century. Now it is the time arrived where we need to embed to these 3D geometrical structures, knowledge, memory, identity, and all this kind of things, very important thing. Full accessibility to everyone around the world, 24 hours, 7. And of course, we need for that sustainability to get organized, and not only on a national level like you do in an excellent way, and congratulations once again for Germany putting such an agenda in place in a country which is, I'm using the word in cooperation, federal, with 16 other states. We need a center on digital cultural heritage to help and support even small institutions around the continent. And I'm saying that by using two very famous hashtags of Europe during the pandemic, which is stronger together, united in diversity, and human resources, the education and the training. You started in Germany and you are one of the first countries doing that, introducing cultural informatics, introducing digital humanities, and so on in your tertiary educational level. What's happening with the rest of the world, with the rest of Europe, with the rest 26 countries? It is an exception to find today cultural informatics. Cultural informatics is digital cultural heritage education. And then, of course, at the same time and in parallel with the vocational training, with this, what it is needed to train those who are now in charge of this, what we say, the knowledge space, the memory places, and so on. And then, of course, the local and the national policy is good, but the international cooperation in this level, it is much better. I'm saying that, ladies and gentlemen, by giving you an example. The day when the German Digital Library went online, when you had the inauguration, I was one of the 50 people present on that event in Berlin. And the first thing that I did during the break was to run to the computer and see what it is there in the digital form from my country, from Cyprus. And I took some of these pieces with me on a paper, of course, some records, some metadata, and I brought them to Cyprus. And I told to the people here, do you know Have you ever heard about that? Yes, we know, but we are not sure and all this. And in few pieces, they didn't know. So it's a virtual repatriation of our memory and of our identity, which is preserved and protected under your supervision. So we need the policy, we need the international cooperation, we need more investment in this particular area. Next slide, please. And then that was Europe before, but what is happening so far as UNESCO concerned? And we see here, digital cultural heritage. It is actually the ideal area where every cent counts to invest for the Sustainable Development Goals, for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. To give you some example, education, learning from the past, lesson learned from the past. But whom am I telling this? To the Germans? No way. Then gender issue, if I see today the speakers and so on, it's something that you achieved actually. Contributing to the society, it comes from the society. It's per default an area for the society and coming from the society. And to the economy, imagine now that the museums starts worldwide to digitize this, not only what it is invisible in the different kind of exhibitions, but in the undergrounds. And in their undergrounds, the archaeological sites, the monuments and all this. How many new jobs will be in place? And that is what? It is the guarantee for the start of free, online, 24/7 access to the knowledge of our fathers, of our grandfathers, to our memory. Next slide, please. I would say, Dankeschön, Evcharisto. I came to an end, but I would like at the same time to announce to you a conference which starts next Monday here in Cyprus. It's going to be fully online this time, and it is focusing exactly in the main problems of what? Of the moment when we transfer the analog world to the digital world, the moment when artifacts are moving from the way of how they are presented in the museum to the way of how they are represented in the memories of our computers or in the cloud. And from there, how we can sustain this memory, these records, in such a way so that not only to be preserved and protected, but also to be used and reused for a long term, and not just only for, okay, that's a virtual exhibition and let's see what we're doing next. Every cent here, it is not seen as a current growth for tomorrow. No, it is seen as a growth for the next 20 or 30 years. Think only that it is an investment for the generation to come and not for us. For us is only the duty to take now action as you did, and especially to convince the politicians, those who are in charge for the policy, but also of the money, to invest even more to this, what it is here. Once again, Dankeschön, es war sehr schön, bei Ihnen dabei zu sein, obwohl es auch digital ist und so weit entfernt. Vielen Dank.